So Rossiter anyway in 7th place on the grid in the number 10 car. Sito Pons not here this weekend, of course. It is a MotoGP weekend. They're racing in Istanbul in Turkey. And Sito with his MotoGP teams and teams in 125s and 250s as well to keep tabs on is in Istanbul. And of course, World Series will be heading to Istanbul later in the summer as well. Lots of the team and drivers really looking forward to that. A track that very few, if any of them, have ever raced at before. And certainly they are very, very interested in seeing just what the race in Turkey can produce. Contrast to Zolder, it's a big, wide open modern circuit, very long, very fast, some of the comments there are saying, with a number of demanding corners. And so the middle of June, the Le Mans weekend here in Central Europe will be the World Series Istanbul race. And this is what nobody wanted to see. Rain coming down on the far side of the circuit. It's still bright and sunny on the grid, and there are no umbrellas up. But on the other side of the circuit, as the wet weather tyres, there are drops of water on the grid now. So although there are no umbrellas up, that's because mechanics don't get given umbrellas. Everybody knows now that they are going to be up against it. And the question then, of course, is what do you do about strategy? You must make a pit stop between lap 5 and 17, but do you hold on in case wet weather arrives, in case there is a crash that demands a safety car? Because if you've made a green flag pit stop and everybody else or most of the other cars in the field get a chance to make a safety car pit stop for their compulsory tyre change, then suddenly, of course, you are right on the back foot. The other question, do you change your tyres for wet weather tyres and hope that it stays wet? Do you stick with what you've got? Looking further down the grid then from Davide Valsecchi, our pole sitter, Eric Salignon, Pilet, Toccacello, Barber Garcia on row 3 of the grid. Jerome D'Ambrosio, who stalled away from the start last time, starts 18th on the grid, and he was penalised yesterday. He stalled at this departure on the formation lap. We have got a gap on the starting grid behind Stephen Kane. There is no car number 5, no Robbie Kerr. So I don't know where he has gone to, but he is not on the starting grid. However, the green flag waves and away they go. And as the engines howl away up the pit straight, even away from the green flag standing start, just feel the electric crackle of tension in the grandstands and the hairs on the back of your neck start to rise. We are ready then for the second World Series by Renault race for 2006. Just to remind you, it has been officially designated a wet race. There will be no safety car, no red flags for purely wet conditions. If the safety car is demanded for safety reasons, for reasons other than purely the fact that it's raining, then it will of course be used by the organisers, but there will be no safety car to allow drivers to change tyres for rain alone. That's the standard that they now have to meet. Just to remind you, 6 drivers not on the starting grid because of incidents during qualifying. Car number 6, the KTR driving Canadian Sean McIntosh. And from not too far from him, from the USA, Colin Fleming in the Carlin Motorsport entry number 8 will also not take the start. Another of Trevor Carlin's favoured drivers, the Portuguese Alvaro Parente, the British Formula 3 champion of 2 years ago. He will not start in the number 16 Victory Engineering entry. Matteo Meneghello, the Italian, will not start in car number 19 from GD Racing. Edwin Jowsey, the historic racer, young historic racer turned single-seat star from Britain, will not start in the number 28 Comtech entry. And number 29, the Belgian driver, Gregory Franchi, will not take the start for Kramer Power Team. And also, car number 5 will not be on the grid. Now, just popped up onto our timing monitors. It says car 5 in safe position until end of race. And that, to me, suggests that Robbie Kerr has had his car. Either he's lost it on the drive round from the pits to the grid, or it has broken down on him and the marshals have been forced to pull it out of the way. Either way, for Robbie Kerr, car number 5, who finished in 7th position in the points in yesterday's first race in a last lap scramble, no race 2 for him. So cars bunching out of the final chicane here at Zolder. And then heading up towards the grid. They are led by the Epsilon Euskadi driver, Davide Valsecchi, the Italian on pole. Yesterday's winner, Eric Salignon, lines up second. Patrick Pilet takes his place, and behind him, the green and white of Alvaro Barber. On the other side, Salignon, Toccacello, Garcia lining up behind each other. Car number 10 in place, James Rossiter, who set the fastest time in qualifying. 8th on the grid is Stephen Kane in the number 1 car, and 2 cars already into the pits. The 29 car of the Prema Power Team's Gregory Franchi, and the 19 car GD Racing Matteo Meneghello. They were not supposed to be on the grid, and they have been sent into the pit lane. They will take no part in the race. Robbie Kerr is not on the grid. You can see the hole quite clearly there. 5 cars back on the driver's right, on the left-hand side as you watch it. And we are ready for the start of World Series by Renault Race 2. On pole position, it is the Italian driver, Davide Valsecchi. And he is right in the front of his starting box. The red lights are on, the revs rise, the tension mounts, and away they go. The lights change very quickly. Valsecchi launches, and a very good start indeed from Patrick Pilet. The Frenchman gets ahead of his compatriot Eric Salignon. Salignon with a yellow top to his car goes around the outside. The Intervetan driver in second place, holding his position, and they make it all safely through turn 1. The long right-hander at turn 2. That is the Sternwacht corner here, and then Canal turn 3, the right-hander. They rush up towards the corner named after Luci Bianchi, and they head off down the back straight behind the pits. The pits all on their right-hand side as they are led by Davide Valsecchi, but already Eric Salignon trying to go with him. Little couple of lockups behind. There is Stephen Kane, and right behind him, the number 30 car of Christian Montanari, yesterday's pole sitter, the man who finished in second place. Well, Christian had a great race yesterday. Stephen Kane had an impact from behind in the first couple of corners. He survived the first corner shunt by going around the outside. His rear wheel was broken in the first lap. A huge chunk knocked out of it by impact from behind, and Stephen Kane's race effectively ended there. But he is in the number 1 car, and it's his teammate that leads, Davide Valsecchi. Well, the young Italian has conquered his nerves, that's for sure. Third place is Patrick Pilet. Borja Garcia with him as well. And then in 5th place, it looks as though it was James Rossiter making another good start. Rossiter is in 5th place. That's your lead group. Toccacello, Barber, Sook, Kane, Montanari, Alicia and Danielson ahead as fast as you can say it, faster than you can say it. They go across the line, but the top 5 with James Rossiter there in the blue car with the white tops. That's the Cito Pons Racing Team colours. He is in 5th place and clearly quicker than 4th and 3rd, trying to find a way past. In front of him, right in front of him, Borja Garcia, and he's trying to come alongside Garcia, and change as well, perhaps coming up for the lead. Salignon looking at the new reprofile back chicane behind the pits to try and get by Davide Valsecchi. He can see that they've just started to open a little gap to the 3rd place battle, Pilet, Garcia and Rossiter, and he really wants to force the pace. Must push Valsecchi. Valsecchi is slowing now, or he's not getting any quicker at least, and look, they're right with him. They are right with Salignon now. Pilet there behind Salignon, Garcia and Rossiter as well. Safety car situation. The safety car boards are out. The yellow flags are waving. Car 2 under steward's investigation. That is our race leader, our pole sitter. That can only be possibly for one reason, and that is they think he may have jumped the start. Well, we have not seen a replay yet, and that is the reason. That is the Russian. Mikhail Ilishin's first World Series race weekend has gone absolutely the opposite of how he would have hoped, how testing suggested. Ilishin was in 11th place behind Christian Montanari, ahead of Alex Danielson, and he, you can clearly see there, was in the gravel traps. Across the line they come. Valsecchi, Salignon, Pilet, Garcia, Rossiter in 5th, Toccacello 6th. Sook ahead of Barber. So Hector Barber passed by Andy Sook. Andy Sook, incidentally, your average Formula 3 driver, you have an impression of him being maybe 1 meter 60, 1 meter 70, nothing of it. Andy Sook much closer to 1 meter 85. He's a very tall driver indeed, particularly for a single-seater driver. Most surprised to see just quite how tall he is. Marshall's working hard to sweep the debris away. How complex is the situation here at Zolder? Look, shimmering heat haze on the back straight behind the pits, and yet there were drops of water on the starting grid, and it was raining at the far end of the circuit as well, down at Villeneuve and Telrambost. So it's a very tricky circuit, not only in terms of finding the right run to make a pass here, but also in terms of the capricious nature of the weather. Again, the sun's gleaming, could not be a more beautiful looking moment, and 5 minutes ago, before the start of the race, it was clearly raining 2 or 3 different parts of the track. Just a little sprinkle, and the track will be completely dry. We're seeing now that the organisers are black flagging car number 29. Now, we saw him going into the pits at the beginning of the race, Gregory Franchi, before the race got underway. He was on the grid. He is not on the starting grid sheet. He should not have been on the starting grid. He was in the pits. He was sent after the formation lap. He was not allowed to go onto the track. He was sent into the pits, and yet he appears to have rejoined once more. So I imagine that the local driver, Belgian driver, will have a lot of explaining to do. Well, there he is, the 29 car, sister car to Christian Montanari, yesterday's second place man from San Marino. And the Prema Power team, well, I really don't quite know what will be going on there. Well, we saw the safety car, we saw the car being rescued. Still no sign of a replay as to exactly what happened to the Russian driver Mikhail Ilyushin, but it was he anyway that was out of the race. The Italian Davide Valsecchi leading the field round, still behind the safety car. Eric Salignon second, Patrick Pilet third, 2 Frenchmen, Borja Garcia of Spain fourth, James Rossiter of Great Britain fifth, 6th place, Enrico Toccacello the Italian, Andy Sook the Spaniard in 7th ahead of compatriot Hector Barber, 9th place Stephen Kane from Northern Ireland, and 10th Christian Montanari from San Marino. 11th Alex Danielson, 12th Ben Hanley, 13th Milos Pavlovic, 14th another Belgian driver Jerome D'Ambrosio, 15th the Japanese Ryo Fukuda, the only Japanese driver in the field. No, not the only Japanese driver in the field. We'll come to the second one in a moment. 16th Germany's Pascal Kochum, 17th the Venezuelan Pastor Maldonado, 18th in the number 15 car from Italy is Alessandro Bonetti, 19th is the third Belgian Bruce Giuani, and in 20th place car number 4, the Draco driver from the Czech Republic, Thomas Kostka. 21st is car number 9, and that is the Pons Racing driver, Thelso Miguez. And in 22nd place, the other Japanese driver, who I'd momentarily forgotten, Hinari Shimoda, who is with Victory Engineering. And that is the field, 22 cars, lights off on the safety car. And that means he will pull off on the run into the pits before they come through the Jackie X chicane after the Jochen Rindt-Bost. So now the leader bunches them up. And for Davide Valsecchi, having done his best at the start of the race, he's now making a very good stab at this restart. He is flying away. I'm not exactly sure what Eric Salignon in second place thinks he's doing. He's giving Valsecchi about a 3-second advantage. He's bunching up the drivers behind. Patrick Pilet fighting off Borja Garcia. A good run from behind coming from James Rossiter. Rossiter looks inside Borja Garcia. That's the outside line. Now he chops back into his right. That's the inside line. Can't get through. Enrique Toccacello, right behind the British driver, and behind Toccacello is Andy Sook. Andy Sook in the yellow car, having a look at Toccacello's dark blue machine, but he can't get through there either. Andy Sook looking for 6th place, but no change. And Davide Valsecchi absolutely running away from Eric Salignon at the flag. At the green flag, he was 1.6 seconds ahead from the restart, and that is just out of the final chicane, over 300 or 400 meters to the line. So Eric Salignon either not paying attention to the safety car in any way, shape or form, which seems very bizarre for a driver of his experience, particularly at this level, or doing something deliberately to bunch up the cars behind, and it certainly worked. Here comes Andy Suk, the yellow top on his car. He's looking down the inside of Enrico Toccocello, and that's job done, surely. He's got alongside him. Toccocello will find it very hard to get on the gas, and Suk gets through. 24 laps to go. Lap 4 has been completed after lap 5. The pit stop window will be open. Who's going in first? Who will take their chance now while everybody's busy and bunched up, where you're going to be held up by drivers in front to make the compulsory tyre stop and then cast their die and see what the weather does. James Rossiter lining up behind Patrick Pilet. He's already disposed of Borja Garcia. Valsecchi leads, Salignon second, Pilet in third, with Rossiter all over him, and into the pits already has come the number 11 car. Our first pit stopper is Ben Hanley. Hanley deciding that lap 5 will do for him, the Cram competition driver coming down pit road. It's bright and sunny on track, and somewhere between lap 5 and 17, all the rest of the teams must come in and join him as well. Salignon closing on the leader. Maybe it was a cunning move from the Frenchman to bunch everybody up behind, get them fighting. Maybe his team were watching on the monitors and saying, Eric, there's a huge battle behind you. Squash them up out of the chicane. There's Rossiter, he's up to third. Rossiter is absolutely flying. He's got past Patrick Pilet. There's Borja Garcia. There's Andy Suk. Suk past Toccocello. Then Hector Barber and Stephen Kane still not making progress from 9th place, with yesterday's second place man Christian Montanaro behind him, and Andy Suk looking around the outside as they come down into Villeneuve. Can't find a way past his compatriot there. Borja Garcia hangs on to 5th. Well, some fantastic action in the top group. There is Stephen Kane, the second of the Epsilon Euskadi cars. His teammate still leading is Valsecchi. Car number 24, we're hearing there may be a steward's inquiry. Pascal Kocham, not quite sure what that was, further back in the field. And Andy Suk now having a look in the 22 car, the Intervetten driver going around the outside. This is going to be a long way into turn 1, but Salignon proved you can do it in the race and away from the start. Now he cuts to the inside, but the road goes away from him again here, and down the pit road they come. 3-4 cars coming in all together. Who's in? Alex Danielson is in. Rio Fukuda is into the pits. Pascal Kocham into the pits. Bonetti, the Italian. Ben Hanley came in to retire, not to make a tyre change. So this now, after 5 laps completed, as the leaders are on, have completed lap 6, is when the first drivers come down pit road. Valsecchi still out front. Salignon all over him. Rossiter in third, pulling away from Pilet and Garcia. Pilet and Garcia. Pilet 2.5 seconds behind Rossiter in 1 lap. That's how quickly the English driver in third place is going. Well, for James Rossiter, wet weather conditions hold no fear either. Won his first ever British Formula 3 race in the most appallingly soaking conditions. You pretty much needed a paddle to get a Formula 3 car around Silverstone on that day, and Rossiter was just clearly the class of the field. Here, he was the class in the even-numbered qualifying session, kept his cool, kept his car set up for heat in the tyres, and set a blinding lap. Now he's clear of this battle behind him. There is Rossiter, there is the battle for 4th. Patrick Pilet, Borja Garcia, Andy Suk behind them. Small gap to Enrico Toccocello, and Garcia having a look at Patrick Pilet. More cars coming down pit road, including Stephen Kane and Christian Montanari, also coming down the 31 Tech 1 car, Jerome D'Ambrosio, the local driver, and in too comes the Draco car of Thomas Koska, the Czech. 18 comes down the pit road, Hinari Shimoda, the mercurial Japanese for Victory Engineering. All of these cars making a 2-tyre change. And here's a look at the Epsilon team. That's Stephen Kane's car, the number 1 machine. Won the championship last year, of course, with Robert Kubica, and won the drivers, the manufacturers, the team's title rather, Epsilon Euskadi, and hoping to repeat as well. That's why they chose Stephen Kane as a bright prospect to try and help them win the championship again, and Kane chose them as well to try and do exactly what the Polish driver managed after winning the championship last year. Robert Kubica, of course, test driving in Formula 1 now for BMW, a real springboard to success. These top-flight Renault championships have often proved. A number of drivers have gone straight from Formula Renault into Formula 1. You think of Felipe Massa, you think too of course, the man who started the revolution of going from a relatively junior single-seater championship straight into a Formula 1 drive, Kimi Räikkönen, who went after just 17 ever car races, of which about a dozen were in Formula Renault Euro Cup in 2-litre cars, into a Formula 1 drive. Another car down pit lane, and that is the number 22 car. The Spanish Formula 3 champion Andy Suk comes into the pits. And again, just to remind you, these are for their compulsory pit stops, which every driver must do. So Valsecchi with Salignon all over him. And there is the Intervetten car of Salignon's teammate Andy Suk. As he crossed the line, he was 10th place. He came in, of course, from that battle for 4th. And the clock's still running on that. It is a manual operation here, very much slower than a Formula One tyre change, but then that's all part of the game. Formula One have the money and the expertise to make 8-second stops. These guys, it's a more relaxed process. Not for the teams, I don't think, but certainly in times of time elapsed. Now then, here's our lead battle. 1, 2, 3 cars all together. They can see each other. You can see all three of them in the same camera shot. Our leader, Davide Valsecchi of Italy, in second place. Yesterday's race winner, our points leader after the first round of the championship, Frenchman Eric Salignon. And in third place is James Rossiter. Battle further back. Pilet, Garcia, Toccacello, Barber, the white and green car, Milos Pavlovic there, and the all-yellow car is Pastor Maldonado from 22nd to 8th position yesterday. Maldonado, 22nd on the grid again today, currently lying in 9th place after just 9 laps. Half the field have now stopped, though. We have got so far the top 11 and 13th placed car. And Franchi has come back down the pit road. He was black flagged, he was excluded from the grid, and yet not only did he go onto the grid, did he start the race. I have no idea at all what is going on with the 29 car. He is not on the official grid sheet, I repeat, not on the official grid sheet. And as far as anyone is concerned, should not have been in the race. However, Gregory Franchi seems to be continuing to put in the laps. There is historical precedent for this. Formula One viewers with very, very long memories may recall the odd occasion where a car has appeared on the grid that never made it through qualifying, but that was in the chaotic days of the 70s. Down pit road comes car number 32, Rio Fukuda, to make his tyre change. And of those that have changed, Stephen Kane ahead of Christian Montanari, who has just set the fastest lap of the race on his first lap out on the hot tyres. Remind you, these cars using tyre heaters in the pits and on the grid. So Stephen Kane, the fastest of those. I know Ben Hanley, well, we were told he'd retired, but there you go. Stephen Kane, the fastest of those that have stopped, ahead of Christian Montanari, Andy Souk and Jerome D'Ambrosio. So Danielson has lost out, Kocham has lost out, and Fukuda really lost out. He's 2 spots behind Shimoda. In fact, Fukuda back in the pits. Drive-through penalty for car 2. Davide Valsecchi, well, we haven't seen a replay being examined, or on screen at any rate, but it seems clear then that Eric Salignon will now be told by his team, forget about him, get your head down and charge. Don't bother trying to pass the race leader because he has been given a drive-through penalty. He may not serve that at the same time as he comes in to do his tyre change. So you can see the Epsilon Euskadi drivers there. What's going on? What's going on? They can hear a little bit of radio chatter. And at some stage in the next 3 laps then, Davide Valsecchi will have to come in the stop-and-go box or the drive-through penalty. He will just drive straight through. If he gets the stop-and-go, that's at the pit-in end. And here he comes, down pit lane then. Now, he can either choose to do his drive-through now and just go straight by the team, or do his tyre change and then do his drive-through later. Either way, it really doesn't matter too much. May not be the pit stop. That is... That's a 50-50 gamble by our director, let's be frank on this. And I think he's going to go straight through and do the pit stop later. Let's see what the team have decided to do. Well, he's nearly at the pit box now, and he's gone past the Epsilon team. So Joan Vildeprat now, having been served with that penalty on his number 2 car, is clearly deciding this is not the time for a pit stop. Let's just keep him out there. No point coming in now and changing the tyres. Keep him out there, keep him out there, keep him out there, in the hope that there is a yellow flag safety car period, which then effectively gives them a bit of a free pit stop. But this means that Eric Salignon, who has yet to stop, is still our race leader now. He led yesterday and leads again today. James Rossiter in second place, and Rossiter will be very pleased with that. 5th place was his final result yesterday, but he could perhaps at one stage have had the race in his hands, and he tripped over himself in the opening stages. Very disappointed with that, and he said, well, I really want to make amends today. Oh, when somebody's... That looks like a little bit of smoke. That is a little bit of smoke, and that's really bad news for the Pons team. That is the number 9 car of Thelthon Miguez, and that does not look like tyre rub. In comes his teammate. Rossiter's in the pit lane. Second place driver, the highest pit stopper from our lead group. Valsecchi, I remind you, served a penalty. Has dropped right down the order, and Valsecchi is going to have to come in once more. In also comes TBK.FAMEFLAME.DK, and I think that is almost certain retirement for the Spaniard. He must be seeing warning lights flashing up all over his steering wheel as he creeps down pit lane. His teammate in having his compulsory tyre change. So it's Salignon who leads now from Pilet. Third is Borja Garcia behind Patrick Pilet. Enrico Tocacello fourth. Just out of touch with them. Milos Pavlovic will move up to fifth. Bruce Giovanni up to sixth. Sasa Miguez coming in from what was ninth place. But unfortunately, this isn't a pit stop. You don't back the car into the garage in such a languorous manner if there's any chance of it continuing for the Spaniard. That is it. Finito. Salignon continues to lap. Fastest lap of the race, though. Andy Sook still stands 1:18.3 seconds. And this will show us some of the dramatic smoke coming from a car. I suppose it's possible that might be a wheel bearing or something else creating a lot of smoke, or a loose wheel, but certainly it had the look of something more major and perhaps more mechanical in the grubby bits. Salignon leads then, 7.6 ahead of Pilet at the end of the last lap, and Pilet with Garcia all over the back of him, just 3/4 of a second between the two of them. But Salignon making this his race, 1:18.8 his last lap, his fastest of the race to date, and so far just 7 drivers, beg your pardon, just 6 drivers yet to stop. Of those who have stopped in 7th place, Davide Valsecchi, because he didn't actually stop. He just drove through the pits to serve his penalty for jumping the start, and he must still make his stop, so artificially high in 7th place. And as Rossiter has rejoined the track, it looks as though he will likely be the top of those that have completed their pit stops. And so he should, because he was in front of all the other guys who have since stopped when he came in from what was 2nd position. Into the pits comes Patrick Pilet. Borja Garcia now, their Spaniard in the 25 car, moves up to 2nd place. So Salignon leads. Borja Garcia 8.7 seconds behind him. But don't forget, once he's completed his pit stop, he may well end up behind Rossiter, behind Pilet. In comes the 12 car as well. Milos Pavlovic has come down pit road, the driver from Croatia. I beg your pardon, the driver from Serbia. So the race continues. Ben Hanley, well, we did say that he was out earlier in the race, but he has made a pit stop and he is in 8th place. So it may be then that my first call was correct and that Ben Hanley did come in as the very first pit stopper, a full lap before anybody else. And if that's the case, then that was a very savvy choice from behind the safety car with everybody else bunched up and not going at their best. He'll have come out in clean air and been lapping very quickly as he crept up behind the tail of the field in clean air on his own. Leader comes into the pits. Well, at the other end then of the spectrum, Salignon in clear air on his own out front. And how many laps completed now? 14 laps completed. This will be the end of lap 15 by the leader, who is Salignon, narrowly as Borja Garcia continues across the line. Salignon still led. Here he comes now, the Intervetten team. Let's watch them in action. Front jackman, they're going for both front tyres. These are already scrubbed. They'll have been used in qualifying. That's a neat looking stop. Salignon, no mistakes. Very good stuff indeed. Across the line goes Valsecchi in 5th place, yet to make his stop. So too in front of him, Bruce Giovanni, Enrico Tocacello, Borja Garcia, and they are the only drivers yet to make their tyre stop. So Salignon back out on track, back up to speed. Came in behind, I think. That might well have been, was that Montanari or Pavlovic? Not sure. However, here is our current race leader, Borja Garcia. Yellow flag's out, turn 11. And that means that that corner will not be used for passing anymore. And I think, to memory, that may be down in the Villeneuve chicane area, the far end of the circuit, out in the woods. Although on our monitor it tells us where the flag is, it says turn 11. We had one for turn 17. Now there aren't 17 corners at Zolder, so I think they're working actually on Marshall's post numbers. In comes Enrique Toccacello, car number 23, and behind him number 26, Bruce Giuani. So Borja Garcia yet to stop. Davide Valsecchi yet to stop. Just two drivers still with their compulsory pit stop to do. And this is the first of those. Running the car now clearly as long as they can to make the best out of the old tyres as the fuel load lightens, and then bolt on the two new, probably front tyres with the lightest fuel load possible for them to carry, and therefore try and make the most use of them in those critical, well, that critical first lap or two out of the pits, I suppose, would be the prime area where that new set of front tyres, if that's what they choose, would make a difference. In he comes then, Borja Garcia, the only man still to stop, and I imagine he will do it on lap 17. The next lap will be Davide Valsecchi, and that's as a result of his drive-through penalty, having to really then gamble on the safety car, which has not come his way. So as Borja Garcia comes to the line, next across the line is the number 31 car of Jerome D'Ambrosio, who has made two pit stops and is therefore out of the lead bunch. Next across the line, Davide Valsecchi, and he will be in front of Borja Garcia because his run through the pits did not involve stopping and changing tyres. You can see the Epsilon Euskadi mechanics in the team. Rossiter across the line with Montanari right behind him. There's a great battle going on there. Rossiter shown as fifth, but Valsecchi and Garcia may both go. So Rossiter was in third place. There is the number 25 car of erstwhile leader Borja Garcia coming back out, and that's an Intervetten car in front of him. Oh, and that is yesterday's second place man, Christian Montanari, has gone off, and right in front of him is that Rossiter. Yes, he's had a go at Rossiter in the second corner. That is Rossiter, and I'm sure Montanari was the closest car. The only car that he was near must have been James Rossiter. He's had a go at Rossiter, and it's all gone wrong. So, Borja Garcia then was the race leader when he came in, surely will not be the race leader now. It is Rossiter, confirmation, car number 10. That was going to be effectively the battle for second place after the pit stops, and it was Rossiter who was in front and Montanari who was behind, and that surely ends a disappointing sequence of events since setting the fastest time in qualifying. Our race leader then is the number 21 car of Eric Salignon, but look how much closer Borja Garcia is behind him now. As Borja came out of the pit road, Salignon came right across in front of him into the first corner, and Garcia now knows what the challenge is. Finally, Davide Valsecchi comes into the pit lane. However, timing and scoring still showing Ben Hanley, car number 11, as our race leader, the Cram competition driver, the Briton. Now that, if that is correct, will be an enormous result. Ben Hanley, car number 11, still shown on the timing monitors as the race leader. He was 12th on the grid, stopped a lap before anybody else. Safety car is out. I do not believe it. All the changes have been made, and what's left of Christian Montanari's car rockets down pit lane. No rear wing on his car, and you can see it kicking up sparks in the gravel. So Ben Hanley, our race leader, well, he has made his compulsory pit stop. He made it on after 5 laps had been completed by the race leaders. So have Cram competition somehow utterly out-fumbled everybody else? It seems as though they have, and that would be a remarkable tactical achievement. My apologies if they have for continually discounting Ben Hanley. And who is that? Well, that's not Garcia, it's not Hector Barber, it's Patrick Pilet. That's who that is. Now, when did we see him go off? Didn't see him go off. Ben Hanley leads them across the line then. Eric Salignon second. Everybody's completed their stops. This must be then the way that it is. Garcia third, Maldonado fourth from 22nd on the grid. Stephen Kane, fifth position after being bottled up in ninth before the pit stops. Sixth, Andy Sook. Seventh, Milos Pavlovic. Eighth, Hector Barber. Ninth, Enrique Toccocello. 10th, Bruce Giuani. Well, lots of changes further down behind them as well. But Cram Competition have certainly pulled out a remarkable flanker here and have got Ben Hanley into the lead of this race. The safety car is out. Yellow flags mean that there is currently racing suspended, and that means that every lap this continues. Obviously, Ben Hanley now has Eric Salignon not 3.5, but just a second behind him. But every lap that this continues, the tyre temperatures drop. It makes the restart job much harder. However, every lap that this continues is one less that Eric Salignon has to try and retake the lead from Ben Hanley and win his second race of the weekend. Looking down yesterday's result sheet, Ben Hanley 10th place for Cram Competition. One of 5 British drivers in the championship. At the moment, Hanley the best place to them in first. Stephen Kane in 5th position. James Rossiter out of the race. Now 2 or 3 laps ago, and it was the incident between he and Christian Montanari, who it seems now is also out of the race, that brought out those yellow flags and the safety car. So clean-up continues there, and at the final corner, which is where I think we lost Patrick Pilet. And as the field goes by, now 20 laps of the 28 lap race distance completed. But also, there is perhaps the prospect of a time cut-off here as well. I have to check my book and see what the maximum distance is. 45 minutes will be the maximum time cut-off for the race, and then we have to look on the timing monitors. There are 13 minutes and 55 seconds left in which to do 8 laps. Now, at racing speed, that would not be a problem. 1 minute 17.9 is the fastest lap of the race, set by Ben Hanley. So he really is the boy at the moment in the lead of the race and with the fastest race lap. And not only is his 17.9 the fastest, the next closest is a 118.2. And that was set by Borja Garcia. No, beg your pardon, 118.07 by Pastor Maldonado, the 4th place driver at the moment. So Hanley 14 hundredths quicker than anybody else has managed to go in the race. Well, Pastor Maldonado, really a mercurial young talent. From the first days that we saw him about 3 years ago in the 2-litre Formula Renault Euro Cup, he has marked himself down as a man. There he is in the yellow car, who not only can pedal quickly, but knows about overtaking. He's one of these drivers that doesn't have an accepted understanding of what overtaking places exist on circuits, and he just sees gaps and goes into them. Well, behind the pits, the flatbed truck carrying the wreckage of James Rossiter's car is zooming along around the circuit, but it will need to complete the entire laps. It'll be another couple of minutes, another couple of laps probably, before we see the safety car pulling in. Ben Hanley, Eric Salignon, Borja Garcia, top 3. Pastor Maldonado, the yellow car in 4th. Look at that number 3 car when they get away from the restarts. There he is, the yellow car, very easy to spot. My betting is that Maldonado is intent on a podium position, and Borja Garcia will very, very definitely have a lot of defending to do. Stephen Kane behind Maldonado, dropping away a little bit behind the safety car, and he needs to be very careful not to be too far behind. But as in the closing stages of yesterday's race, it was 2 laps from home when the rain started to sprinkle down on the track, but it is starting to sprinkle again here. It is raining on the start-finish line. Not deluges, but enough to see the guests on the sponsors' balconies heading back under cover and putting the umbrellas up. And those in the pit lane starting to pull their hoods on and shelter a little under overhanging buildings. Lights on and wipers on the safety car. They're about to catch the truck carrying the wreckage of the number 10 Pons car of James Rossiter.
Ça va?
Oui, ça va. Clara? Clara?
Maman.
Clara?
Respectons toujours les limitations de vitesse.
Ce n'est pas parce que c'est petit que ça ne peut pas vous surprendre. Technologie TSI Twin Charger 1 litre 470 chevaux, 17% de consommation en moins. Nouvelle Golf GT avec TSI Twin Charger.
Your Sunday evening on Motors TV. At 8 p.m., we head to Oulton Park for round one of this year's British Formula 3 Championship. Then from 8:55, we stay at Oulton Park for round one of this year's British GT Series. Then from 9:55, it's the DTM replay, round two from the Euro Speedway at Lausitz. Your Sunday evening lineup on the high-speed television network, Motors TV. Motors TV heads to the Lebanon circuit for race day one of the French GT Championship, as well as all the side-by-side action from the Peugeot 206 RCC and RC Cup in the next edition of Made in France, Wednesday, May 3rd from 6:45.
Eric Salignon then leads it. Borja Garcia behind him, and Pastor Maldonado, well, at the moment, looking like a surefire third place man. Stephen Kane, though, might possibly somehow scramble a podium out of this from fourth place. It's going to be an awful lot resting on any potential restart towards the end of this race. If they do manage to move the car of Ben Hanley, and the lorry is there ready to lift it on, it's going to take at least another lap. We may get 2 laps of racing in. There's 4 minutes at the moment. I'm not even sure that we'll get 1 lap of racing in. Can you imagine the tension for Salignon? Can you imagine the radio traffic? Eric keeping himself calm and trying to work out methodically with the team. What happens if? What does the clock say? How many laps? Now they're going past. They can see that the car is not on the flatbed, which means at least 1 more lap behind the safety car before they're released. And that will mean at least another 2 minutes. There's only 3.25 minutes left. There is just about the chance for 1 lap, maybe. But in that 1 lap, what might happen? Salignon might well hold on as he did yesterday to win the race in greasy conditions. And there are still spots of rain drifting down. Red flag is being shown by the organisers. Is holding it out, that's it. Safety car, 75% of the race distance has been completed. They can held out the red flag and declare a full result, and that means that what could have been perhaps a final dramatic lap is taken away. 3 minutes of the race remain, but it is Eric Salignon who wins race 2, as he did race 1 of the World Series by Renault 2006 here in Zolder. He probably is now aware of it, courtesy of the pit-to-car radio, but he has not even seen the red flag at the start line now. They'll be around all the marshals post. Borja Garcia in second place. That's why the RC Motorsport team are so thrilled. Their best result in the championship. And third place, Pastor Maldonado didn't have to make the move in the end as Ben Hanley dropped the car off the road 5 laps from home at the last restart of the race. That is the podium. Stephen Kane, 4th place. He will be happy with that on his first weekend at this level, having graduated from the Lola project in British Formula 3 last year. 5th place for Andy Suk, the Spaniard, who was out in the first corner of yesterday's race from the front row of the grid. And 6th for Milos Pavlovic. Points for Hector Barber in 7th, for Enrique Toccacello in 8th, for Bruce Giuani in 9th, and the final point will go to Alex Danielson in 10th place. But all sympathy will surely go to the driver of car number 11, Ben Hanley, the British driver who, with 5 laps to go behind the safety car, lost control in the wet here at Zolder and clattered into the barriers. Salignon knows it. He is the winner for our second World Series race of 2006. Victory in race 1, victory in race 2. Eric, do not crash the car. The Intervetten boys don't want an all-nighter just to be able to sweep it up into the trailer to take it home. But what a race weekend for Intervetten, marking themselves as definite championship contenders, and Salignon could not have had a better result here either. Victory in race 1, victory in race 2. Borja Garcia, 3rd place in race 1, 2nd place in race 2, will go away here second to Salignon in the championship, and 3rd place in this race, and 8th place and fastest lap in race 1 to Pastor Maldonado. So he will be a very strong championship challenger as well. Christian Montanari, 2nd in yesterday's race, does not score. James Rossiter looked as though he might have been on the podium. He was taken out by that clash with Montanari, and Ben Hanley had the race in his hands after some very astute early pit stop work by the Cram competition team. Straight after the first of the safety cars, he came in, made the best of clear air conditions to be left with the lead after many laps behind everybody else as they finished, and then 5 from home, disaster struck. But that is not to take anything away whatsoever from Eric Salignon. The nicknames in the team, Cool Man and Speedy for Andy Suk. Speedy in 5th, Cool Man on the top step of the podium. Eric Salignon thrilled, no doubt, as he was yesterday. His first win in over 2 years yesterday. He's made it 2 in 24 hours. That's some comeback for Eric Salignon. So confirmation then of the unofficial results. Top 10 score points, just out of the points. Pascal Kochum for Euro International. Gregory Franchi, Hinari Shimoda, Koska Valsecchi, our pole sitter, of course, after that drive-through. Montanari, Ben Hanley, disappointed beyond words, I'm sure. Rossiter likewise, and Robbie Kerr didn't start from his 5th place on the grid. So those other drivers all with incidents or technical issues during the course of the race. And of course, we didn't have our full complement. We only had 24 drivers on the grid out of the 30 who would have hoped to have been there. So lots more to read about in tomorrow's headlines and in the motor racing press during the course of next week about the final outcome of all the stewards' decisions over the course of this weekend. And with 2 wins and a fantastic effort from the Intervetten team, they have the team's championship lead. From RC Motorsport with Draco in 3rd, and the champions, Epsilon Euskade, not having a great start to the season. That's somewhere for them to bounce back from, certainly. And believe me, they have the engineering talent and the determination to do plenty of bouncing. And 4th place here in his 2nd race only at this level for Stephen Kane in the Epsilon #1 car is certainly something to build on. Well, a look at the highlights of the race. James Rossiter dive-bombing down inside Borja Garcia. Rossiter made up 2 places in the same lap on the cars in front of him. Great battling behind 23 Enrique Toccocello, with Andy Sook following Rossiter's example and making an early move. Rossiter again on the attack, and that was a great one to get past Hector Barber. Trouble for the Pons team as Rossiter was progressing up the order. The number 9 car, Felfa Miguel, was striking its own mechanical dramas. And there was some great racing, wasn't there? Mistake there, just costing 2 places for Rio Fukuda in the 32 car. And high drama in the closing stages in the wet conditions. Behind the safety car, we saw this big crash that took Alessandro Bonetti of Italy out of the race. And then, perhaps even more dramatically, the race leader behind the safety car, the lap before they were due to be released from the safety car, Ben Hanley went off, and the safety car was almost immediately scrambled again. And at that stage, Eric Salignon, well, time and the stewards were against anybody deposing him. The Frenchman held on to claim his 2nd win of the weekend. 2 races to start his World Series campaign for the Frenchman. A phenomenal championship challenge already underway from Eric Salignon and from the Intervetten team. Mustn't underestimate the part that the combination have played in the success this weekend. So waiting for the drivers to come onto the podium. 3rd place, the young Venezuelan, Pastor Maldonado, racing for Draco, a team that has a long and very proud, successful history in the junior categories and now at this top international level as well. Borja Garcia, 2 appearances on the podium in 2 races. 3rd yesterday, gets 1 further step up this time. And by logical progression means that it should be he on the top step in Monaco. But I bet Eric Salignon will have something to say about that when they go to the Monegasque Principality for race 3 of the championship, the 2nd race weekend. So Eric Salignon on top of the podium and in top form here this weekend. Trophy being awarded to the winning driver as opposed to the winning team, the Intervetten team. Great result for them. Very impressive performance from the team, the German team, and from Salignon himself. And to present the award to 3rd place driver, Pastor Maldonado. The Venezuelan, one of 2 Venezuelans at the top level in the sport as well. Another Renault-powered championship. We've got Ernesto Vizo. It's been a long while since the early 80s, and ex-motorcycle ace Johnny Cicotto in Formula 1, and Maldonado and Vizo both vying to be the next great Venezuelan Formula 1 driver. You saw there Borja Garcia responding to this enormous crowd here and the RC Motorsport team that are thronging down below the podium. They're thrilled with that 2nd place in the title race. They have not had a better start to the season than this. And Eric Salignon as well, very experienced, competent driver at top flight in the single-seater championships. So Marseillaise rings out for Eric Salignon for the 2nd time this weekend. And the 24-year-old Frenchman certainly covering himself in all sorts of glory this weekend. A very, very impressive performance. Dominated his qualifying session, his part of the split qualifying sessions today in very tricky conditions. He was exceptionally fast in qualifying yesterday. Lined himself up 3rd place on the grid in the dry Saturday qualifying session. Made a great start had a great restart to take the lead and to hold on in race 1. And in race 2, again as in race 1, despite tricky conditions at the end, he held on to win.